Today we are looking at the final new cards of the new mini set Echoes of the Infinite, including a neutral tickatus and the big new legendary that lets you skip your own turn. If you missed my other reviews, you could check it out in the playlist in the description. Now let's get started with the very first card, which is Finality, which is an imbue card for Death Knight, and the new imbue for Death Knight is Blessing of the Infinite, which is a passive just like the Murloc quest for Paladin. The first undead you play each turn gains +1 attack, and of course every time you imbue that +1 attack gets +2, +3 and so on, so that can scale quite nicely. But you gotta remember it is play undead, so it's not summon from spells or from anything else that you summon. It's just undead you play from your hand, and it's only a single one, so you can't just overwhelm the opponent with a full board with undead, which makes this hero power not feel that great. Also, there's not that many actually good undead that really benefit that well from extra attack. There's like a No Muncher, there's Darkthorn Quilter that lets you do damage based on its attack, and there's like Toy Snatching Guys, which lets you reduce an undead, which can be quite nice, and some rushers, but overall, nothing really truly amazing, I think, with it, that just wins the game the moment you play it. After all, it's only attack, and you don't gain health like we've seen before with like the Zerg cards, where, yeah, once it changed from attack and health to just attack, it suddenly became unplayable. And yeah, I feel like it's kind of the same thing here. You don't have to pay mana though for this thing, but yeah, you do have to imbue, which takes a lot of time, which means you play cards that aren't undead, then you imbue, and then all you get for that is attack on those minions. Now some minions, like I said, it can be really good, but there's a lot of undead just aren't that good, and it's just limited to one turn, so it doesn't really feel like the strongest imbue hero power. And since it's imbue, it kind of asks you to build your deck around it, and yeah, building your deck around hero power that isn't that great, it's probably not going to be worth it, and just not very high on this hero power. Now let's get to the imbue card for Death Knight, Finality, which is a 3-mana spell. Draw an undead, imbue your hero power twice. Now, I think by itself, yeah, it's not too bad. I mean, imbue twice, that's really good. Like, you want to imbue, and then a card that imbues twice is really good. We've seen that in the Paladin deck as well. And that card was really good to Paladin, but yeah, the Paladin deck only saw play for a little bit. And yeah, this hero power just feels way worse. And then again, just struggling to see how you build your deck around this. You need to play a lot of imbue cards, which are not undeads, to make this hero power work. Then you have to have enough undeads that are good for the hero power, but then you only kind of want to play one a turn, so you don't want to have too many, because you don't want to play undeads just because they're undead to have a good effect with the hero power. And then besides that, you need another win con. It just doesn't seem that great, although I feel like Finality by itself, again, double imbue, isn't too bad. So I don't want to give this a 1-star rating, so I think I'll be giving it a 2-star rating. The card by itself seems fine, it's just that hero power just doesn't seem great at all, and that's why I can't really give it a high rating. Then let's go to the second card for Death Knight, this time combined with Rogue. For dual class, since Rogue also got the imbue, this fits really well with the Jagged Edge of Time. A 3-mana 3/2 weapon, Battlecry, imbue your hero power. I mean, this just seems like a solid imbue card. You get a okay weapon, I guess, with an imbue on it, and generally when you play an imbue deck, you want to play imbue cards, and yeah, this just seems like it goes right into imbue decks. Again, I'm not very high on the Death Knight imbue, but I thought the Rogue imbue seemed solid, so I think this seems like a solid card to go into Rogue then, and then maybe Death Knight if it ever becomes playable. So yeah, just solid card, so what else can I give than a 3-star rating? And the second card for Death Knight and Rogue is the Wicked Blightspawn, a 4-mana 4/3 undead. Reborn. Death Rattle, equip a 1/2 dagger. If you already have a weapon equipped, give it +2 attack instead. So that means any weapon, so if you get like a big weapon like Foam Render, then you can give it like potentially +4 attack with this, and you can swing every turn for a 9 damage, that could be pretty big. By itself though, this seems kind of weak. A 4-mana 4/3 with Reborn, and then a small effect with it, you get basically a 1/2 or a 3/2 weapon total. It's not amazing, you wouldn't, I think, play it by itself, so you really need some synergy in either Rogue or Death Knight. And in Rogue, I'm not sure what you want to play with this, like what weapon do you want to buff? Yeah, there's been weapon rogues, but they usually focus on getting cheap weapon buffs that you can really stack quickly and then just go face and can ignore the board. And this card just feels too slow for like that kind of rogue deck, which we've seen in the past. So I don't think you want to be playing it in those decks. So I feel like it's mostly going to be Death Knight card. But even in Death Knight, what are you going to be playing? Is in like, yeah, there's Foam Render, but you're only going to have one Foam Render. And then this card just by itself just isn't good. It's also not like there's a lot of other weapons to run. And then, yeah, it feels like you kind of need to run a bunch of weapons so you can consistently buff one of those weapons. But then, yeah, then you have to run a bunch of weapons that you don't want to run, and then you have to get this. Then it has to die, not get silenced, transformed or whatever. It just seems very slow to pull all of that off. Yeah, again, the foam render, 9 damage a turn, or even 13 if you get 2 of these. That looks pretty amazing, but that's like gonna only happen in like the slowest of matchups, and it still requires a lot of setup time to even get there. And you need to get the foam render first, then the other cards, and again, you don't really want to play 2 foam renders, so you don't always draw that. And I don't see that consistently happening enough with foam render. I don't think it's worth on any other weapons right now, and by itself, I don't think it's good enough, so I don't think this card is gonna see play, and I'll be giving this 1 star. And that's all for the class cards. Now let's go to the last 4 neutral cards that we got, starting with Omen of the End, a 5 mana 5/5 dragon. Battlecry, if your deck is empty, destroy the top 5 cards of the enemy deck. Yes, this is the tickatus I mentioned earlier, and yeah, it looks good maybe on first sight. Wow, you can destroy your opponent's deck, then maybe it's neutral, so you can shadow step it multiple times. But then you start thinking about it, like how good is it really? Like when are you going to be playing it and what kind of deck? Like, you have to get to fatigue, okay? That takes a while. And then after that, you have to spend mana on playing this. Now, one of these is not enough. Like, most decks, if you draw very fast to fatigue and then you play this, they were not going to get to fatigue anyway, so burning 5 cards basically does nothing. So this one is only relevant if you have fatigue matters, but if you go fast to fatigue, then you're probably losing on value anyway, even if you burn some cards. So it doesn't really go into like draw heavy decks. And even with Shadow Step, yeah, you can Shadow Step this twice, maybe play 2 of them, but it is total of 16 mana to burn all the cards. So you're just spending 60 mana on doing like nothing. So do you then expect to win the game if you spend 60 mana doing nothing just to burn cards? Probably not. They still have the cards in hand on board. You're probably going to die to it if you don't deal with that. And then also, what if you place any other deck than the slower deck? Like if your opponent is ahead on board, you don't have time to play this. They don't care about those burnt cards again. So I don't really see why you want to be playing this in, because the decks this goes into, it just doesn't really help burning cards from the opponent. It's very expensive. Now, this could be a very toxic discover card, though, if you discover this in like a control matchup and just burn like a bunch of cards and you win because of that. I can see that happening, but we rate cards here, of course, on what it is to put in your deck, and I just don't see this card going anywhere, even though, yeah, the effect I don't really like, and I don't think it's very good to have in the game. Like, it's probably unplayable, but if it is playable, is it really a good card to be playable? Probably not, so I'd rather not see these kind of cards. But the card, I don't think you want to be playing this in any deck, so I'll be giving this 1 star. Then we have one of the best cards of this mini set is the Prescient Slither Drake, a 7 mana 6/9 dragon with elusive. Costs 3 less if you're holding another dragon. So this is basically a 4 mana 6/9 elusive in dragon decks, because I think 90% of the time it's going to be active on turn 4 in those decks. And that looks pretty incredible. It's a neutral, so it can go into any dragon deck. And I mean, what is better than turn 4 6/9 with elusive? Like, there's not many cards that are better than that. Besides, you know, maybe an Elise. And yeah, this just looks really, really strong in any dragon deck. Just really annoying to deal with for the opponent. It's a huge minion that can push that damage, and it obviously also enables other dragon synergies. So this looks like an incredible card. Now, initially, I thought this was going to be a 5-star card, because that's a ton of stats with an upside and not much of a downside most of the time. But then I thought about other cards like this, like the Perennial Serpent, I think, in Demon Hunter, which is the 7/8 rush for 4 mana if you have a dormant card, which in some ways is similar to this. Like, a lot of stats, 4 mana have a discount, though it's a bit harder to get that discount, of course, with a dormant card. And that has rush, though, so that's slightly better than elusive, or a lot better even than elusive, I'd say. And if I looked at the stats of that card in those decks, it wasn't actually that incredible in those decks, surprisingly. Maybe it's because it's a bit harder to pull off. But yeah, nowadays, just I think big stats just often don't quite matter as much as they used to. And it's not to say this isn't an incredible card on turn 4, but if you get later in the game, yeah, it's not that incredible anymore to a top deck. It's just a single minion, and it can easily get frozen or just ignored by an aggro deck, and it doesn't do anything by itself on the board besides just being a stat bomb. So I don't think it's quite a 5-star card, but it looks really, really strong in Dragon decks. I'll be giving this card 4 stars. Then we have the Crumble Crusher, an 8 mana 8/6 dragon. Battlecry, destroy a random enemy minion, location, and weapon. So this is like a Deadly Shot plus a Viper plus a Demolition Renovator in 1. And yeah, this seems like way too expensive for what it does. Usually Demolition Renovator isn't great to play, and that even has tradable and is way cheaper. Destroying a weapon, like there's barely any weapons right right now. Viper doesn't see any play, and then you destroy a random enemy minion, but because it's 8 mana, it's very hard to like maybe clear some smaller minions first before playing this, so that also isn't incredible. And then yeah, all of them combined, like when are you gonna kill a big minion, a nice location, and a nice weapon at the same time for this card to be worth it? I feel like that's gonna be very rare, and if it's not the case, then this card looks really, really weak for 8 mana. It's just an 8/6 minion, so 6 health on an 8 drop is really weak, and then most of the time I think those effects are not quite worth it to have this card in your deck. It's just too clunky. If you want to destroy a location or a weapon, there's way better cards to play that are cheaper and have tradable, and then combined I don't think it's worth it just to get all of them in just one card. So I don't think you want to play this in any deck, and I'll be giving this 1 star. And then we have arrived at the final card, the big legendary of the set, End Time Murozond. It is a 9 mana 4/6 battle cry. Fill your board with random dragons. Fully heal your hero. Skip your next turn. So yeah, this is a time warp for the opponent, but you do heal yourself to full your Reno Jackson, and then you get a board full of random dragons. But yeah, giving your opponent an extra turn, that generally is not winning games. In fact, it's like Temporis, where your opponent gets 2 turns, but then you would get 2 turns, and that just saw no play. It wasn't very good. It was like a card that maybe if you discover into like a very slow matchup, you could play, but it's not a card you ever wanted to play in your deck. And I feel like it's the same with this one. Like, skipping turn is so bad. Like, when are you going to be doing that against any aggro mid-range deck? If they have any kind of board, you're just going to die to the board. Unless you maybe get lucky with dragons, with having taunt or rush or something, if they even have that. And then you give your opponent 2 turns, and then yeah, if it's a control deck, they could probably just play like a board clear on this and then get an extra turn with it, and then you're still far behind. Yeah, it does also heal your hero back to full, so usually that's 30, and yeah, it can be nice, more likely you survive. But the effect of filling your board with random dragons, there's a lot of small dragons, and those are really bad, and generally cards for 9 mana filling the board, those cards have not been great, and then also giving your opponent an extra turn is even worse. So well, maybe in an ideal scenario, right, you play this, you heal a lot back to full, your opponent can't kill you, and then you just got a full board. I mean, that seems maybe okay, but that's like the best case scenario where it actually all the effects are fine. Like, skipping a turn is just so bad. You can't have that really in Hearthstone and think that you can win after that. And I don't think healing your hero, getting a full board of random dragons that just could be 1/2s. I don't think that payoff is worth it to just completely skip a turn. And yeah, it just seems very unplayable in any fast and matchup. Yeah, it might be good to heal if your opponent is out of cards, but by then you probably already won, and there's probably better cards to play. So I don't see why you want to be playing this card, and I'll be giving this 1 star. And those are all the cards for Echoes of the Infinite, which will launch next Tuesday on January the 13th. What card do you look forward to playing with? Let me know in the comments. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to like and subscribe. Thank you for watching, and until next time.